Sat Shri Akal, I'm Attar.
Hi, I'm Maneesha.
Welcome to our podcast, Two Best Friends, where two best friends us talk about anything and everything that is happening around us as millennials, brown, migrant people in this beautiful country, Australia.
Yes. And
And
here we are.
around the world, right?
Yes. And here we are with another episode. And this one is about this march that we have in Melbourne. So we both live in Melbourne, which is called Take Australia Back, which really got us thinking because it's on 31st of August for anyone who hasn't heard of it yet. And we'll go further into it, but we want to kind of unpack that for ourselves and the understanding of it, and also about being Australian and what does that mean. Because I think it's a very interesting topic for anyone who's a migrant or has a different.
Absolutely. But before that, let's do the silver lining.
All right, I will start. And my one in Attar's word is very trivial.
Is it to do with the khana pakana?
It's actually not. It's actually to do with the weather.
There needs to be a rule. You cannot use weather.
What?
Again,
It's
no.
my silver lining.
It better have a different twist.
No.
in it.
Okay, it's to do with the weather and the sun coming out. And
Because
I
it's
think
in Melbourne and we don't get it enough.
we don't get it enough, and I love it. I love it because I think it really lifts the mood. But also, it's also in here. I think it's in the Aboriginal culture. I'm not 100% sure, but it is also the wattle festival. A wattle, which is the yellow flowers that come out at this time, and it's almost like a yellow, just to kind of talk about that. But I do really, I love the color yellow and the feeling of that, and I think just that wattles coming out. And it's a very Australian
so
thing.
Beautiful. I love
But yeah, that excitement and that looking at them has really lifted my spirits. But in this week because I've seen them.
Oh, that's fantastic. Sounds lovely. There was a little bit twist to it.
Yes.
My silver lining for today or this week has been that how disciplined I am. I always say it's very hard to stay resilient and disciplined with things that you're trying out. So for me to have a routine and being disciplined enough to be able to push through it, even though I didn't want to, I think I was so proud of myself, so impressed with myself that I did it.
And that's good.
Yeah,
It's not easy.
Those little things. And I have been doing so fantastic with it. Sometimes I'm like, maybe today I can take a break. But then I'm like, no, if I have committed myself to this, I am going to do that at least for 21 days because they say that if you do something for 21 days, that becomes part of your routine, part of your life. So been doing that, absolutely smashing the reading, mornings, everything. And I'm just so happy that I pushed through that time.
So discipline, do you mean like you've kind of said, I'm going to do this, and just doing that? Is that what you mean?
Yes. Even though I don't feel like it some days, I feel like, oh, today's Sunday, I can take a little bit of a break from it. But still, when the time comes, I'm like, no, it is the consistency. There is no, like, I need to be able to enjoy what I'm doing, to be able to sustain that habit and continue that. Being able to enjoy that, that's just been so fantastic.
So do you enjoy it after when you actually
Or even during.
Yeah.
Even during.
Like, it's the initial hitch, but actually when you do.
It's hit the night before. I'm like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm just not going to have it. But then in the morning, I'm just like automatically awake at 4 a.m. and ready to kickstart the day. And I'm like, oh, I was a little bit iffy about it. Like, should I do it? But now it's just happening because it's part of the routine. So that discipline, I'm just so okay. Because when you're feeling down, I feel like that's what keeps you going. So it's very important to have that. And I was able to maintain it for 21 days. So that was fantastic. Well, longer than 21.
That's amazing. Yeah, I don't think I personally can't. I would say. I mean, it's not about discipline. I think it's more about. I'm like, no, you drink so much. Take a break, and I'm very happy with that personally. And I think because my worry is otherwise I'm going to burn myself out.
Yeah.
But it's that like if I feel like the build and I'm like, oh my god, this is too much, I'm just gonna I just take a step back and I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. Stop.
That's how you feel like doing that would burn you out. Not doing would actually burn you out. So it's so
that's why I asked you what
happens.
happens. What happens when you do it, and if it actually works for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like it makes me more structured and prevents the burnout.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Now, coming to our topic for today is it's about the protests. And there's apparently there's a Take Australia Back protest on the 31st of August, which is quite interesting, the timing of it, because at the same time, and I'm going to be talking from an Indian perspective, is the Indian Film Festival happening at the same time.
An irony.
It is an
Two
irony. Like they
happening.
just unveiled on the 15th of August, which is the Independence Day of India.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they even must have, what is that, had the flag on Federation Square,
The center of all the
which is
protests
center
and
of Melbourne
events.
and the protest, and it's like
Yeah.
where there was another country's flag, being drawn,
Yeah.
right? Which is interesting that the parallels of it, because one, the Indian festival, the film festival is almost like a celebration. They do these events, dance events.
Yeah.
On Federation Square, it's a
It's
celebration
as
of color,
Indian as any
art, being pride of who you are, South Asian creativity. There's so much happening around the city.
So tell me in layman's terms, what exactly does this protest consist of, or what is their agenda?
It's interesting because I feel like no one knows. But what I've seen and heard on social media, on news, it's this protest going to happen on the 31st of August, which is about,
From the time of when this episode comes, a week.
taking Australia back.
Yeah.
So not anti-immigration is one. I think they're very much about not allowing migrants coming into the country.
So pretty much segregating and saying that white people on one side and
Maybe.
anyone that's non-white is migrant and should not be.
Seems like it based on the comments and stuff, right? For example, I saw someone talking about it, one of the someone who actually covers a lot of protests and stuff, who is like a South Asian, and his own. I was reading through his own comment section. He's going to be there attending it
That
because
is Jamu.
no, someone else. And there was a comment saying go back. Subcontinent people not allowed. Australia is white people. Like there's a lot of that stuff coming up, which is really interesting. Quite extreme because I don't see that in my day to day, right? Because the other part of Australia is that, we're celebrating culture and diversity in lots of different ways, but there is this big protest all over, and it's not just Melbourne, it's all over Australia at the same time.
It is extremely hypocritical of this protest.
Yeah.
Because Australia, as we know, is not the land of white people. It's not Europe.
In fact,
They are not the first habitants.
It's an irony, yes.
It is very ironic how they are protesting for the land that is not theirs to begin with.
Yeah.
This land belongs to Aboriginal people. It is equivalent to, let's say, if British Raj had not left India and 100 years down the track, if Britishers had said to Indians like some other migrant people saying like, leave our country because this is ours. It's as bizarre as that. The protest makes no sense. It's not that migrants are not paying taxes. It's not migrants
But
are
also,
evading anything or relying on the social system. But even that is beyond it. It is very hypocritical of them to protest, or white Australians, whatever their agenda is, which is not clear to begin with. I think they need a brown person to sit it down and have the agenda written down. But it's just very hypocritical.
But also the irony is that if it is, it is being protested by a city that's literally built by migrants, and is stolen on a stolen land, right? But also, this would be like second, third, sixth, seventh generation of migrants.
Yeah.
Like there is no one who is from Australia except if you're an Aboriginal person or you're from the. Like it's really interesting that this thing is coming out so much because, and even before coming here, I've got to say. I want to acknowledge that I thought Australia was like, in my head, Australian was a white person.
Yeah.
Right? But there has been a reset since coming here is that really true? Like, what would you say would be an Australian? Who is an Australian?
I think we are Australian. When I think about Australia, I think of many many ethnic communities living peacefully together. There is a common sense of, yes, this is our second home. Even if it is second, third, fourth, whatever generation it is, we know that we come from somewhere else. That's what Australian is to me. But in real sense, Aboriginals are the real Australians. They are the real owners of this land. But other than that, we all are here as our second home. There is nobody who this belongs to any more than
or just any, it is your home, right? For someone who's only lived here or like second generation, like our kids, This is their home. And honestly, they're more than they're being here. You lived here. This is it. Like there is no, but still there is that feeling sometimes, right? Of the tension of feeling Australian enough, right? And what when you're almost like your existence is constantly challenged, like what's happening with the 1st of August. Like, does that make you like? I think we are on defense here, saying, "What are you talking about?" Right? Because you're like, I'm Australian, but you are questioning my being an Australian.
Yeah.
But
We are different.
Yeah. Like what? Like why the challenge of that is quite hard.
Yeah.
Just because you're a different color.
I want to say something so tiny. Just talking, having a nasal sound, saying mate, saying all those things, does that make you Australian? Then what? I don't understand. It's just.
But it is, I think
Or
it's
even
because it's the United
Yes,
States.
some Middle Eastern, they are whiter than Europeans. Would they be considered as
No,
Australian
because
then?
the accent.
What if
I
they?
feel like the moment, if there's such a typical thought process, I mean, that's my thought. If your accent,
Which is, are you
even
saying
if it's a
accent as
European,
opposed
for
to
example,
accent?
yes, so if it's a European, for example, with a heavy accent, they will still be asked where they're from, even though they may have been here for 30 years. It could be someone who, but if you're white and you have a very typical Aussie accent, you won't be asked. If you're a non-white person and you have a typical Aussie accent, you'll still be asked where you're from.
So they're picking and choosing who actually Australians are.
Yeah, because it's almost like this thing.
Again, not very clear. No, not as smart.
Because I don't think it's based like it makes no sense. Like I get it. And I think it's really funny because on the other hand, we talk so much about cultural diversity in this country.
Which we are so proud of, especially Melbourne. Melbourne is, I feel like living in Melbourne or in Australia is living in many different countries in one country.
Yeah,
because you get to experience
people from
everything.
different backgrounds. You know,
Yeah.
you could be migrating from Europe, from Africa, from South Asia, from anywhere, and come together.
Yeah.
And still, that's the best thing about being an Australian is that you
Absolutely.
can still be an Australian and have something else with.
Yeah, it's like many different varieties of fruits living together on a dining table.
So fruit basket.
Fruit basket. Absolutely.
Yes. How do you though? It does feel weird, right? Because even with this march, for
Yeah.
example, he was like, I had a message, someone messaged me said, don't go out on 31st of August. And I'm like, and there was a full thing about it on someone was talking about it, but don't go out, you can be attacked. And I'm like,
More than
bloody
reason to
well
go out.
go because this is my space and I
Yes.
want full space in my own city.
Absolutely, more the reason to go because that's how the threat and that fear is created, and that's how we have to defy it.
Yeah, and
If
it
we
is.
don't, it can get worse because such protests will be a lot larger and bigger if they think that people of color they are getting scared.
And it is a fear based mentality.
Yeah.
Even the whole thing about they're gonna take over and be like, oh, again. What? Because again, we haven't even acknowledged the actual people of the country.
Bet these people would not even know the real name of Australia or the names of the land that we hear. They would not even know. They don't even want to
know, but it's the
they
lack
would
of
be
acknowledgement.
Yes, they
of
wouldn't
the
want
way
to
this
acknowledge it.
because in the end, like, I feel quite proud, and that's something like in my kids' school, we talk a lot about the the land and the Aboriginal land and what are the different seasons and stuff. But I'm like, I'm learning so much because I have in my 20s not learned that in lots of spaces here, and I'm pretty sure most of the people who are actually part of the system, our education system, would not have had that information, right? We're just coming about it, and which is a problem in itself. Like we haven't acknowledged the history and culture that this country has, but we are talking about how we can't accept other things.
Do you think it's also for them a fear that slowly, as the migrant community comes up with the generations, and eventually it will be that they are going to enter in politics, like our foreign minister Penny Wong, many more migrants will come up and fill those spaces that once belonged to white Australians. Not of people of color, be it like a cricket team.
Representation.
Yes, but
I
wonder if they're fearful of that.
So it is because the power has been, and it's not just Australia. A lot of power has been, quite easily. If you look at even our government, it's a lot of men, white-looking men who have the power. And I think we do need to shift because it needs to be a representation of all cultures, all backgrounds, the elders, but also our present generation and coming together and looking at it. And also, acceptance of like Vietnam, using that as our city instead of we're still getting around it. Like there's so much learning, like almost like saying, but not letting people come in a country that has 60% people, population of older people is not a smart move because economically, I think we are going to struggle. Yeah. If you're not coming, we are struggling. I work in allied health, you work in the same space, disability. We are struggling with having people to work. So is that even like from an economical background? Talk about saying stop migration. Who is going to do all the work that we need to be done, and how are we going to support this economy and support the people we have?
Migration, when it was done, the time it was done, the way it was done, has boosted Australia's economy, and they can't deny it. They just cannot deny it, and every Australian, and I'm talking about if the white Australian, has benefited of.
I also want to say though, the white Australian, like I have lots of friends who are part of that, right? But they don't think like that.
No,
that's what I mean. Like this is a very typical whatever, with the group that's very much about talking about, fusion and that's a very typical set of people, right? Because every single friend of mine who is born and brought up here, generations of them who are white Australians are beautiful and amazing and inclusive, and that is the country that I'm part of.
Absolutely.
Which is surprising because then you see this other part that is coming out, the protests that we have, and all the comments that I see online, and it's like, that is racist and that is shocking. Actually, I'm surprised I'm living in a country like that as
when
well.
you see those comments, but I don't think those comments have the true sort of representation of what actual people think, because I feel like that's a lot more masking and easier to type things than attend some rally like this.
Like, what is it actually representing?
Yeah, sometimes people write with an irony, sometimes people write with vengeance. It's so hard to gauge exactly what they're thinking with the online comments. Not that it justifies, but I don't think that would truly represent that.
And it doesn't. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not saying I live in a bubble, but I do, like, we meet people every day and no one's saying that. I'm not hearing that as much. Yeah. I'm not going to not acknowledge that it doesn't happen because there is that, the moment, it's weird because the moment someone asks me, where are you really from? It's like, oh, I am. Actually, but it's not just a very white thing. Anyone. Like it could be South Asian person, it could be anyone from any country. I think it's just it's almost like connecting from another.
Yeah,
right?
It's when we travel overseas and people ask where we are from, I feel like that's the true answer that we give. And it took me a while to say I'm from Australia because the first instance is like they're asking where are you from as like the background. But in another country, in the foreign country, they don't care where you're actually from. They want to know where you're immediately from. Yes. Like where you're living. So it is our home. That's why we say like we are from Australia.
That's my natural answer. Because I think I'm almost coming to the stage where actually I'm going to live here more than I've
100%. We both
in India.
Yeah, we're the same age. The time
we've lived here more than we've lived there, which means, of course, I'm as much South Asian Indian and that's part of my identity, but that doesn't take away my identity as an Australian.
And migration has happened like many times over the years, different continents, different countries. We have this South African community living in Gujarat that is like a Gujarati community, Parsis. So that happens all the time. We don't question them. Nobody gets questioned. So I don't understand where this is coming from, but I think it could also be the wave from America. And questioning that. Yes, because that's a lot. But natural migration is part of who we are. Right? Yeah. And I think that's one it's important to acknowledge. And economies are created and built on. Have you seen this ad where it was in Germany where they did this thing where, again, they put every staff member in a space and they said, now all the people who migrated, right? In hospitality, in hospitals, in allied health, in aged care, in disability, and then people who are
They literally, it's such a strong ad because it shows you that they're like, all right, all the people who migrate and move. And they're like
Sure.
4 people, 3 people left
Yeah.
from 25, 50 people. That's all there is.
And if they
If
do
that
that, then
happens,
oh my god,
it's going to be like the same.
yes, the economy is going
So
to
what do you
crash.
mean by, we don't need people? And, I'm vague, like it's very interesting, but also very like, where is like, have you actually done some research? Have you found out what the impact of what you're talking about? Also, that is, I think, very racist and racist, right? Like,
That is very
we live in a country, in a world where we're trying to celebrate diversity and who we are and encourage that. And not just from a cultural point of view, like about sexuality, identities, and then you kind of coming on to another point and saying, this is where we need to be. Like, go to the olden days.
I think it's going to be a very short-lived bubble.
Yeah.
This protest and what they are trying to aim. They don't have clear agenda. They have no backbone to it. I don't think there's much validity to it.
Yeah.
It'll be a
How
space
did
to
you
watch.
feel though? I mean, when that happened, what came out for you? First thing that came out for you when you heard about that protest?
Oh, literally, I laughed and be like, look who's protesting for what?
Yeah.
Because that's not their land.
Yeah.
That's not their space.
It was just like an irony. What are you talking about? Yeah, same. I think I had
There
the
was
same
no fear.
feeling.
There was no fear. There was no insecurity, as in like worry that something might, bigger thing might happen from it. Nothing like that. It was just like,
Yeah, yeah. And I think it is not. I'm glad to be on 31st, not for this, of course, but for our own selves, for something else. But it's absolutely, because I'm like, this is our space as much it is anyone else's space, and I don't think anyone has a right to question it.
no, not at all.
And
We're
keep
not giving them that-
celebrating and
Yes.
celebrating different cultures and different backgrounds and identities because that's what
Yeah,
it is.
I think our Diwali Mela is going to be a lot bigger than this protest.
Yeah, that's
Just on its own.
That's true. Then you're only talking about one culture.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yes.
Like it's all South Asian, Black people, First Nation voices. It's everyone together because it's not just for one group of people. It's about every migrant group, which is almost everyone as well.
Yeah, but we'll see the space.
We'll
what
see.
happens.
Yes, we
But
will
that's
see
what's
what
happening
we
in Australia.
see. But that is very interesting that it's happening and taking Australia back. We will find out what that is. No one knows what it is, but we wanted to talk about. But we also want to hear from you if you've migrated to a country, if something like that is happening, or if you have experienced it, and what are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, we would love to hear that. But anyway, leave your comments, suggestions, what you want us to talk about. DM us, message us, give us your love on all the socials, Instagram, YouTube. We would love to hear from you.
Yes.
And until next week, we'll see you then.
Sayonara.
Bye.